Hey guys, it's Kelly coming to you from the back of the van with bags and bags of mulch. And that can only mean one thing. I'm back from my trip from Montana, back in California and ready to garden. And today I have some tips for you on how to go from beginner succulent gardener to expert in a very short time. Stay with me and let's get going. The number one thing that you need to know about succulents is don't overwater. You want to make sure that you keep the soil on the dry side. Now that doesn't mean that they never need water, but for instance, these particular succulents, I water probably once a week, sometimes once every 2 weeks if it's in the cooler months. So don't overwater. That's the number one thing you need to know about most succulents. Don't like a lot of water. The number two thing that is going to help you hugely with succulents is to remember that they don't like full sun. They burn, the leaves burn, and they will dry up and they will hate life. So don't put them in the full sun. Now, there's always the exception, and cactus are part of the succulent family, and most do fine in the sun. That's fine. But the majority of the succulents don't like to be in full sun. So if you have any kind of shaded areas like this pine tree, you can put the plants and grow the plants, the succulents underneath it. They love it. They thrive. They do really well here. And I have all sorts of succulents growing underneath this tree. And yeah, it's neglected really badly because it's on the side of the house. And I don't always get to it. I water it once a week if they're lucky, but they don't need that much. So they're easy to thrive plants. So just keep that in mind. Partly shade, dapple shade, where the sun is filtering through, is the best place for them. And it even helps in the winter time because some don't do well with frost or with freezes. So it does help because the shelter from the trees helps so that they don't get frostbitten. So that is a cool thing too about growing underneath shades or eaves of the house where it is shady. The number three thing that you need to know about succulents is they all have their growing season. Some succulents are winter dormant and some are summer dormant, and that means that no matter what you do, they're not going to grow a whole great bit in the times where they're naturally dormant. So if you buy a plant and it's doing well, and all of a sudden that succulent stops growing, don't worry. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with it. It's just having its natural time of rest. So hang in there with it. It will have its active growing season, and then you can start propagating and having more plants, and just don't worry. It's natural. The fourth thing about succulents is you don't need to go out and keep buying new plants. Unless it's a type of succulent that you want to add to your collection, you don't need to do that. You can easily propagate, make new plants from the ones that you have. This particular plant, I can just break off a piece of it, maybe. Strip the lower leaves, let the end dry out, stick it in soil, and it will grow. Succulents are super easy that way. The same with this aeonium. I can just break off a section that's growing. Now with this one, I would cut it down to the stem right here, let the end dry, stick it in soil, and I've got a new plant. So don't keep buying succulents unless it's a particular one that you don't have that you want to add to your collection. You can have thousands of succulent plants in a very short time by propagating them, just as I've shown you. I just prefer to propagate this way. You can leaf propagate by taking a leaf and laying it in soil and letting it grow roots of its own, or a new plant. And like this one here, I can break off, put it in soil, and it will grow a new plant. So super easy. Don't spend a lot of money on succulents because you don't need to unless like you're trying to grow your collection. Now, most cactus are very easy plants to grow, and they don't require a lot from you. They are easy to grow because of the temperatures that they can go from very cold to very hot and do just fine with very little water. So they're no fuss plants, and you can propagate them pretty easily. If I wanted to do this one, I would dig it up and separate the spears and then go ahead and start a new plant from one little round spear. But I don't want to do that in this case because this particular cactus, I like the way it looks. And so we're going to leave this one be. And I'll show you on the big cactus how we can take a piece of the cactus and make a brand new plant. So let's go. Hey guys, it's Kelly. I'm out in the cactus patch. And with these type of mature cactus, they're very easy to propagate. You can see where the joints form a new section of cactus. And if you just take some salad tongs or whatever you have, two shoes together work with your hands. I've done that before. You just have to think of a way to keep your hands safe. You just take and twist at the joint. You can twist it off and put it in the ground. Stick it in the ground in the soil, dry soil, not wet, and it will propagate you. That will be a way to propagate a new cactus plant. So you have a brand new plant. And I can show you where I've done that with a smaller section right here, right here. And I've taken it and just taken it off, put it in the ground. It's that easy. It's really not rocket science. So I hope these tips for going from beginner to expert succulent gardener are helpful to you. I hope that you go out there and garden, grow your garden, and do the best that you can for those plants. They're going to be beautiful. Hang in there. If you have any questions, drop me a comment. Subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot in keeping the channel going. So I will talk to you next time. Happy gardening.